Is 842 million people go hungry every
Is to make sure that every mother has the ability to feed her child the nutritious foods that's required so that child can lead a full and prosperous life.
That 3.2 million children in SA go to school hungry every day.
Every 10 seconds, a child dies of hunger.
About 800 million people in the world do not have enough food to lead an active, healthy life.
That's 1 out of 9 people on the earth.
We have the food, we have the resources, we have the brain power, we have the infrastructure, we have everything that you need to end hunger except the political will. It really is that simple.
Hunger kills more than AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis combined. Poor nutrition causes nearly half of the deaths in children under 5 years old. That's 3.1 million children each year. Roughly 100 million children are underweight in the world. According to the Poverty Trends Report, children leading poverty more than anyone else shows that there is no future, says Leola. If children are poor, they are less likely to go to school, and even if in school, they will perform badly. The majority of children are less poor because they're in poor households.
In Caracas, people spend up to 35 hours in line waiting for food. Many hungry people live in countries with food surpluses, not food shortages. The issue largely is that people who need food the most simply don't have steady access to it. In the hungriest countries, families struggle to get the food they need because of several issues: lack of infrastructure like roads and storage facilities, frequent war and displacement, natural disaster, climate change, and chronic poverty.
Natural disasters are a leading cause of hunger, affecting all aspects of food security, economic and physical access to food, availability and stability of supplies, and nutrition. Climate and weather have a huge impact on world hunger. Natural disasters such as floods and droughts led many families homeless without any proper supplies or food to survive.
When a disaster strikes, impacts include loss of homes, crops, which can quickly turn into food and nutrition crisis. More than 80% of the world's food insecure people live in countries that are prone to natural hazards. Numerous continents in second world and third world countries are struggling to fight world hunger. Asia is one out of many who are still struggling today. Asia is the largest of the world's continents, covering 30% of the Earth's land. Asia is also known as the world's most populous continent, with a population of 4 billion people.
Asia is the continent with the most hungry people, 2/3 of the total, and it's mournful to say that 70% of all undernourished children live in Asia. India itself is home to the largest number of undernourished people and hungry population, with 190 million people going hungry every single day. In India, 3,000 children die every day to malnutrition. 36% of Indian women are chronically undernourished, and women make up over half of India's population. The nutrition of children is particularly the worst because of the state of their mothers.
Unfortunately, Asia is not the only continent who is suffering.
In 2006 to 2015, 30.4 million people are living in poverty in Africa. In 2012, 47% of the population in sub-Saharan Africa lived on $1.90 a day or less. A principal factor in causing the widespread hunger is that poverty rates are 20% points higher in countries affected by repeated cycles of violence over the last 3 decades. Drought, as a result of climate change and increasingly unpredictable rainfall, has become one of the most common causes of food shortages in the world. 1 in every 9 people goes to bed hungry each night, including 20 million people currently at risk of famine in South Sudan, Somalia, Yemen, and Nigeria. 50% of the world's poorest families don't buy their own food, they grow it themselves. These families depend on their land and livestock for both food and income, leaving them vulnerable to natural disasters that can quickly strip them from their livelihoods.
People in sub-Saharan Africa have the worst health on average in the world. The region has 11% of the world's population, but carries 24% of the global disease. Spending on health in sub-Saharan Africa is expected to double over the next 10 years. Investments of $25 to $30 will be needed to meet the standard on demand.
There is no food, there is no milk, there is no zero.
Everything is gone.
Lack of health care is a leading cause of world hunger. The malnutritioned aren't getting the guidance and attention they need to live healthy lives. The cost of malnutrition to the global economy and lost productivity and healthcare is staggering. Lack of access to affordable healthcare coverage can lead to poor health and poverty for many Americans and the world. Lack of money is already being felt in hospitals throughout third world countries like Iran, where medical staffs have been told that they were working in wartime conditions and should prescribe drugs sparingly, or in many cases, not all, in an effort to save resources. African region as a whole stands at 460 deaths per 100,000 live births. African maternal mortality also remains the leading cause of death in girls. There is poor quality of service for pregnant women. Many sick patients in Africa do not have access to locally produced drugs, and some cannot afford them. Less than 2% of drugs consumed in Africa are produced on the continent. People shouldn't have to choose between paying for food or medicine. What do you do when someone gives you food you don't like?
I normally throw it away and then run.
I throw it away.
Did you know that every 10 seconds, a child like you dies of hunger?
Why?
How does that make you feel?
Bad.
It makes me feel bad because I never think about all the food that I'm throwing away, and I don't think about all those kids that are dying every 10 seconds.
What can we do to help prevent hunger in the world?
Well, we could educate people on nutrition, and we can also donate food to other countries and other places throughout the world, and we can simply don't waste food. So
the world produces enough to feed the entire global population of 7 billion people, and yet 1 person out of 9 on the planet goes to bed hungry each night. So why does this hunger exist? The real question is, why do people still go hungry when there should be enough food to go around? If we can conquer space, why can't we conquer hunger?
What seems like a simple fix actually has many factors that people fight to improve every day. Improving agriculture to boost incomes. The extreme poor rely on farming for food. However, many smallholders face challenges and lack of access to credit, resources, and skills needed to be successful because they live far from markets where they can make profit. To make sure farmers are connected to economic opportunities, we need to help these farmers and support them in order to raise their success. We can help by educating people on nutrition, sanitation, and hygiene. Lack of safe drinking water and poor hygiene can lead to another way is empowering women in agriculture. Empowering women to start businesses can help ensure that their families can earn enough money to put food on the table. Education is the best weapon against poverty and hunger. It is especially powerful in underdeveloped countries. Education means a better opportunity and more access to income and food. Additionally, some countries have more food for education programs where students are given free food for coming to school. High birth rates pose a problem when trying to solve hunger. Many people are not educated on reproduction or do not have access to the contraceptives they need. Gaining access to these contraceptives will allow family planning and economic freedom for all.
Although there are multiple ways world hunger can be prevented in the future, However, it is also important to consider what we as individuals can do to help fight this case. Ask yourself, what can I do personally to help those affected by hunger? World Food Day is a special day where you can do just that. World Food Day is a day of action against hunger. On October 16th, people around the world come together to declare the commitment to eliminate hunger.
Hunger is a global epidemic affecting communities in sub-Saharan Africa, in Asia, and even in the developed world.
This is doable. This is doable. And I'm going to tell you, I can't think of anything more important than to make sure that everybody has enough to eat. Food ought to be a right for every human being on this planet. Let us end hunger now. Let us end it now forever. And, you know, it's not a pipe dream. This is doable.
Hi.